Lee, tell me, and I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway for effect. Tell me why Strats and Tellys are so bright sounding.
Well, if you... Obviously, the back pickup on a Strat and a Telecaster is super bright. In fact, I played the Strat on the back pickup. And now play the neck pickup. Personally, I prefer the sound of that neck pickup, and I think most people would. But back in the 50s, that was almost never really recorded with. All you hear on sort of, you know, 50s guitar bands, or 50s and 60s guitar bands, is that back pickup, really, really harsh. And the reason why is that sort of producers in those days, the recording equipment didn't have the clarity to sort of get a guitar to cut through the mix if it was a warmer sound. So they would all be told, you've got to use that back pickup just to get that kind of biting clarity. We'll get the guitar through the mix, then it'll sound great on tape. And that's why that whole sound of a generation is that kind of really bright kind of sounding Strat tone. I
wonder if that's why guys used to use really thin strings too, like banjo strings, and
maybe
the like, to get a bit extra
I'll
treble.
tell you a lot, and this is the truth as to what strings they would use back then, was what could you get.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, again, my dad opened Andertons back in 1964, and you compare availability of musical instruments now, like you can go to any store, see a million guitars and have any gauge of string you want, and you know, back then it was kind of like, it was the norm to go, oh, we haven't got any guitar strings, we'll have to make do with some banjo strings or whatever.
Really?
It's like, yeah.
So what gauges did they used to have back then? Did they have like 9s and 10s?
To be honest with you, yeah. I mean, if you could get the proper strings that the guitars were made for, they would be normal. But to be honest with you, again, I still, you know, meet a lot of the guys that my dad would have been in bands with when he was teens and stuff like that. And they just, you know, honestly, some of the gear. I've got a guitar player that my dad knew, a guy called Johnny, played some amazing bands. I know that he was touring in Germany on the same circuit, on the same bill as Hendrix, when Hendrix was doing all the sort of the old GI clubs. And he showed me he had an old Gretsch tube amplifier that only one speaker was working in. And I said, let me service it for you and we'll see if we can get it back to its former glory. And in the back of it, it had half the output section of a jukebox. And seriously, and we're like, how is this? And he said, I don't know, it must have blown up somewhere and that's all we could find to fix it was half the output. And you just go, that's what it was like.
I didn't even know Gretsch made an amplifier.
Yeah, it was, I don't think they're very well known, but he has got, I mean, God knows what it's worth. It must be worth a fortune. But he's got a matching pair of some old sort of, you know, Gretsch country gent style guitar with a matching tube amplifier from sort of, you know, late 50s. Be worth a lot of money, I expect. That's the one thing he says. If you ever ask him, you know, if your house was burning down, what would you do? You know, would you save your wife or anything else? Pictures of you know, no, guitar.
Let's hope his wife never watches this video. If you have any more questions about Lee and his father and the 60s, please leave them in the comment section below. I'm interested to know more.
Yeah.
Well, what was the first electric guitar you got in then? Was it a Strat?
Oh, wow. I genuinely don't know. I know that I know that there was a lot more sort of Spanish and classical guitars and acoustic guitars. I definitely know, and this is, again, blows me away now. You walk into Andertons now, and there are 150 Fender guitars on the wall and a warehouse with another probably 300 Fender guitars sitting in. And they just arrive every day by courier. It's just kind of like, we just don't think anything of it. You get 50 different colours. Back then, if you had a music shop back in the 60s and you wanted to buy a Fender guitar, the Fender Importer was very small company in London, had a music shop in London, a very famous one, which closed down now, called Soho Sound House, and they were the importers of Fender. And if they were getting a shipment in, chances are they were maybe getting, I don't know, 6, 10 Fender guitars in a whole shipment. And so my dad would drive up to the docks, literally where it was being unloaded, with cash to literally try and buy one, and then he'd come back to the store and there'd be a queue of people outside the store literally waiting to see the one Fender Strat that he would bring back.
That's amazing.
It is mad now.
And, how much did they cost back then?
Oh, I mean, obviously not as much as they cost now in terms of total pounds, but in terms of how many months' salary did they cost? 6 or 7 months' salary to buy a Fender guitar.
Wow.
You know, and back in the day, I've seen the old book. My nan, my dad's mum, used to run a little book, and you would come in and go, I want to buy that Fender guitar like that, and it would be like, can I pay you £2 a week for it like that. So, you know, my nan would meet your mum and she'd go, oh, hello, Mrs. Chapman, are we all right for this £2 a week? Are we like that? Yes, Mrs. Anderton, that'll be fine. So they'd write it in the book and you'd have to go in every week and give you £2 or whatever it was and it was all, you know, all done on trust.
That's probably why most artists had like one guitar that they always used because they were so expensive, you know?
Yeah, they were I mean, again, you can buy, I guess it depends what you earn, and you know, but if you just take what is the average salary in the UK now, so obviously there'll be people who earn more and less than this, but the average salary in the UK now, 1 month's salary would buy you a Fender custom shop guitar.
Yeah.
Back, you know, in, that's obviously if you just spend all your money, no mortgage, no nothing, you know, just spend all your money. If you, and that's just the national average. Back then, as I said, to buy, not custom shop, just to buy a regular American, well, they didn't have custom shop then, you know, but just to buy a regular American standard Strat, you know, for average wage, it would have been 6 or 7 months worth of money to buy a guitar like that, which is, it's...
So now they're probably worth that much.
Oh, they're worth
in terms of real
fortune, aren't they? I mean, if you've got
mortgage guitars,
you know, if you had well, what's been expensive? I mean, even a 60s, you know, an early 60s Strat or a late 50s Strat, even with no artist connection, you know, just basically something that no one famous has ever played, you would, and it was all original. You're talking 20 grand plus now for a guitar like that. It's insane. And if it's connected to an artist, I mean, what did Clapton's Blackie went at auction for $1 million? $1 million. I know. And I bought both of them. Yeah. No, I didn't really.
Should have kept that going. They would have believed you, and we'll sell them to you for $2 million.
$2 million.